Sanibonani Makhaya. This is your host, Gaddafi Manafi, the entertainment freedom fighter, and welcome to Attention Show, the voice of the entertainment industry, where we promise to deliver relevant information pertaining the industry, education, entertainment, and what is Gaddafi without a bit of controversy. On today's episode, we are addressing a topic that is not only affecting the music industry, however, the entire entertainment industry before COVID-19.
We deserve to know the truth, and we deserve to know why are we not paid as yet, because we did the work. No payments, and then when we raise our issues, but Thabang, it was just, they didn't give a shit.
Because I've said things that I don't even know, to say, okay, this is how the people were nominated, and I don't even know if it makes sense. And to this day, I'm still asking myself why the media didn't ask me about that part, because to me, it did not make sense.
Important, because what an agreement or a contract does, it is a formal document, which is it proves agreement between the two parties. It starts verbal. I think first is the verbal agreement between the parties to understand when is the event, what type of event is it. Also, there's certain things called, you need to also to know your technical rider, and the definition of a technical rider is just what is your set.
Hi Andries.
Hi Gaddafi.
How are you?
I'm doing great, and yourself?
I'm good, thanks. We received your letter, and thanks for coming through to come and tell us a little bit more about what you wrote us to about. So the first thing that I would like to know is, who is Andries in the entertainment industry, and if you can tell us a bit about yourself, your musical background in the industry.
Okay, my name is Andries, as you know.
Yes.
It's Andries Mola. I was born and bred in the area called Matuwane in Mpumalanga. And I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, I'm a vocal coach. I've worked with Tshepiso Gospel Group as the vocal coach, worked with I was doing BVs for for the Line of Judah production. Worked with Dr. Rebecca Mando for the musical called Mkhize. Also worked with Lindelani Mkhize for Eat Night and INGOMA Awards as well. I've been part of it, and I've backed up a lot of artists. Some I just forget their names basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's more about me.
Okay. So today you came to see us. What is the issue?
The issue is, I wrote to you, Karaf, because I needed, some closure into whatever that has been happening, because we were part of Ignite 2017 and 2018. So the thing is, everything was good, and 2017 everything just went well and all that. So I wrote to get some help basically about certain things that was not met. Or when we were doing Ignite for the second time in 2018.
When you say something was not met, are you talking about payments?
I'm talking about Chankura, I'm talking about money. That's what I'm talking about, because anyway, in this production we need to get paid for what we do.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when you started working with Ignite, with Lindelani, Mkhize, were you auditioned or were you headhunted?
No, I went through the audition process. I still remember it was announced on Facebook that we should be sending our 1 minute recording.
Yeah.
And then they were selecting from those videos, and the final audition we were about 30, and then we went to audition face to face with Lindelani Mkhize and the other judges, and I was selected from those people from the group after auditioning.
After auditioning.
Yeah.
And who communicated with you after you passed the auditions?
After we passed the auditioning, we were communicating with Kaya Spanyoni and Nwabisa. I don't really know her name, they call her Noa. I think it's Nwabisa, from Joy Celebration. So those were our administrators for everything in the group and letting us know what's going to be happening and rehearsals and stuff.
And how did they communicate with the band?
The communication was in a group, basically. We were communicating in a WhatsApp group.
WhatsApp group.
Yes, there was the communication because they created the WhatsApp group after the auditioning, aiding other people from other provinces. Because I remember we also had guys from Zimbabwe, yeah, so we're in the same group so that they can just send out communication once.
Okay, so when you were told about the rehearsals,
Yeah.
and what I need to understand is what was the contractual agreement? Because I believe that there is no business without a contract.
Yeah.
So how did they communicate your agreement with them on how you're gonna run your business?
Basically, we didn't have the formal, agreement, like your contract where we're going to be sitting and signing the whatever that has been said in the contract, the agreement that we have between I and the production. So we didn't have the formal agreement. It was verbal agreement because they told us this is how much you're going to get, and these are the rehearsal days, and this is the day where you're going to leave Joburg to Durban because it was held in Durban. The event was held in Durban.
That communication, was it a verbal agreement or verbal communication, or was it a communication that was sent on the WhatsApp group?
It was communication that was sent
On the
individually, yes, because they have to send you, not in the group, but then individually.
And that's when the payment, the amount payment was confirmed on this is how much we're going to pay you. Okay. So do you know who the sponsors were for the production?
The sponsors, Arts and Culture, I think it was involved, and that place where we were doing the thing.
The Playhouse.
The Playhouse, yeah, where we were hosting the event, and also Contento.
Yeah.
Yes, it was also part of it. So those are the only three that I remember so far, but then it was more than that.
Okay. So this was the sponsors, was that for 2017 and 18, or was it just for the second year?
It was for the second year in 2018. So 2017, I don't remember the sponsors.
But you were paid.
But we were paid on time.
Yeah.
So right after the performance, we came back to Joburg, and after a week, as they promised, we got our payments. So payments were not delayed in 2017. So we got paid on time, and we smiled because, yeah.
So let's move to 2018.
Yeah.
What happened?
2018. The event was 2018 December.
Yeah.
Yeah, they promised that we'd get payment, right? Like in 2 weeks after the thing, the performance. Then we've been waiting, and then nobody was communicating until I sent a message in the group because everybody's just quiet about it. Because remember that when we go to Durban in 2018. So they told us, I think it was on a Monday, and then the show was on Friday, so we are leaving Wednesday. Performance is on Friday, meaning that we're going to have 1 day off rehearsal.
So you were performing the same repertoire that you did in 2017?
Yes, I did the same song that I did in 2017 because
so
there was no time for rehearsing the new songs.
Yeah. So all the songs that you performed on the second year, as songs that you performed in 2017?
Most of them, only for a few artists that have to change their songs.
Okay.
Yes, but I think 90% of us, we did the same songs.
Same songs. So you had 1 day to run
to just
all the
run
songs.
through, yes.
Were the rehearsals here or in Durban? In Joburg or in Durban?
No, we did the rehearsals in Durban because we have to do it in the venue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So now with this one, you were promised that you will get paid the same amount as last year. It was the same repertoire, and I don't know what I'm saying. And probably it was the same sponsors. We can't assume that, but let's say in 2018, the reason why you knew who the sponsors were, why the band, what was the band paid as well, or they were not paid as well like you guys? the vocals?
The thing is, with the band, we're not in the same group. We don't know the communication they have with the band.
So they were not in the same
They
group?
were not
as
in
you
the
guys?
same group, so I wouldn't say if the band got paid or not, because we're not communicating with the band.
Okay.
Band have their separate group created for them.
Mhm.
They communicate with the MD, and we have our own group where we've been communicating with Kais Manyoni and Onwabis.
Mhm.
So those are the people that we're having the communication with. So basically, in our group, nobody got paid. I don't know, maybe if others got paid, but then most of us, we didn't get paid.
So you never received
We
any
never
payment?
received any payment.
And in February, they kept saying that they will pay. But in February, eventually, what was it, 2019?
2019,
They
yes.
said they will pay you. And you followed up on the WhatsApp group, you did say. And what was the response?
The response was, I think it was Mabisa wrote to the group and said, we spoke to Lindelani, and then Lindelani said the Department of Arts and Culture didn't pay yet. So we'll keep you posted. As soon as they receive the payment, then we'll have the communication. So we waited from February 2019. Now it's 2021, we're in the March month.
And
So
they haven't
no
communicated.
communication. Because they only communicate if we speak in the group, and I'm the only one that will be asking in the group. Because I believe that we deserve to know the truth, and we deserve to know why are we not paid
Yeah,
as yet, because we did the work. People paid tickets in the venue.
yeah.
You get my point? And there were sponsors involved. So how come we are not paid as yet? Mm.
And the accommodation was paid, transport was paid, but
Food
there
we
was
paid.
no money to pay you
Money
guys.
to pay us.
Funny, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
And why do you think, I mean, you mentioned all the band members and the vocals, people that you think were not paid because they were in the same WhatsApp group as you were. And why do you think they refused to come forward and back you up when we did the expose to say that there were no payments that were done? Why were they against you, even though they know
Like they
that
didn't
you
get.
know?
What I can say, in this industry, we live in fear. We live in fear to such an extent that people, when they have to come out, they're scared. Because there's a rumor saying that if you speak out, you're vocal about your feelings, you're vocal in the industry, they will close doors for you. So you will never pierce through, you will never be known, you will never succeed in your own lane. Because those people up there, they rank them as like big bosses in the industry. They're going to shut every door, you'll never make it. So I believe that they were scared simply because of that. They didn't want their music career to be shattered. They didn't want those big bosses to close doors for them. That's why they were scared. Or maybe some, they are closer to the big fish.
Yeah.
Do you get my point? So they are closer to the big fish. So
Would you say that maybe some were paid and that is why they were not supporting your statement?
I actually don't think so. I think they are just protecting themselves
Okay.
or the relationship that they have with the big fishes.
And since you came out and you told your truth, did anyone know that it was you who told the truth?
Some of them, I told them, some of my friends, because, when we go to Ignite, you create your own, friends group and stuff. So I had friends from Ignite, from the same group. I was communicating with them before I spoke to you. And, they were so scared. They were so scared, but then at least they know.
And how is their treatment towards you after you spoke out?
They were just quiet. They were really just quiet.
And
Because they don't want to get involved. They even told me that, okay, as much as you want to go speak out about this, please don't mention our name, don't involve us at all. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to involve you, I'm going to stand by myself and do whatever that I gotta do.
Have you taken any legal action against the whole shebang?
Legal actions, I haven't taken legal actions because, first of all, we had a verbal agreement, no contract that was set. So even if we can go to court, I believe that he would say, okay, where is the contract, where is the agreement? As much as I know that I've been on this stage, I sang and I served my services. So it was going to be just a bit of a challenge. That is why I wrote to cut off Manafi.
I get you.
Yeah.
And given a chance, you would, if you could, I mean, afford to pay a legal lawyer, would you take a stand against these kind of situations? Because I believe that this is not the first scenario that you've gone through. You know, tell us about the other one.
Yo, the other one is INGOMA Awards. You know, I was so excited to go sing on that stage where like we went through audition process as well, and then we were selected. We were about 12, 4 tenor, 4 soprano, and 4 altos. And we were so excited about the production because yeah, it's awards, INGOMA Awards and everything. We signed contracts, but we didn't have the copy of our contract.
So you signed
We signed the contract and then we gave them back to them. So the stupid part is we didn't copy the contract and have it on ourselves as well. So we did everything, we did the production and it was set and done, and no payments. No payments, and then when we raised our issues, but Thabang, it was just, they didn't give a shit. They didn't care what's happening. You know.
Thabang, is it Thabang Mnisi?
Yes, Thabang Mnisi, and who's that other guy? Dan. I don't know his name.
Dan.
The vendor guy. Dan.
Yeah.
I think they're partners.
Yes.
Because Dan was like the bigger guy, and then Thabang was like the support team.
He's the CEO.
The CEO, yes. So no communication was made, and then they just pretended as if like we never existed at all. We never existed. So to them, they're just happy wherever they are. And I just saw like after the production, like the I think last year or last of last year, the audition new people. They're on stage. They didn't pay us. They audition new people now.
Yeah.
They put them on stage. I don't know if they got paid those other groups that they have selected for the INGOMA Awards.
So did you know who the sponsors were for the INGOMA, the year that you were part of?
No, I didn't really, and I don't remember the sponsors.
So they were not transparent about a lot of things on the production.
They just told us that, okay, the budget,
yeah,
this is the budget that we have for you guys and everything. They promised us heaven and earth, those ones. They really promised us heaven and earth because you know, they pissed me basically, because you can't sit with us in a board meeting telling us that this is what we have for you. At the end of the day, you don't communicate with us as if like we're just a piece of trash.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And on both cases, there's one thing that's very common, and I think it's what we need to focus on, right? Both parties did not pay you, because you had a contract with INGOMA, but you did not have a contract with IGNAT.
Yeah.
And what responsibility would you take from both situations? You know, put together. What responsibility are you taking from that?
Yo, what I can say is, from now forth, contracts are very important. So before you agree to do the work or to go in any production, you need to sign and have a copy of your contract, because it's going to backfire at the end of the day. And you don't have a backup, even if you can want to take them to legal actions and everything. So you're not going to have a backup simply because you didn't have an agreement signed. So it's very important, you know, to also tell people out there, the musicians, that when you get a gig, it's very important that you have a contract. You sign the contract, you have your own copy, so that it can be a backup for if something can go wrong.
So you understood the contract that was given to you by INGOMA. Did you understand the contract? Were you given time to go through the contract and maybe ask for a second opinion or a second eye to interpret things that you probably, the jargon you did not understand in the contract?
I think it was clear, the contract was clear, because as I said, that they promised us heaven and earth, those ones.
Yeah.
Because the contract was good, I read through it and everything was just cool.
Can you give us a highlight on what was in the contract? What was good about the contract that you just signed and then you passed out because you didn't ask for a copy? Like, what was good about the contract?
Basically, our payments and the services that they give us on the contract, they met them through the rehearsal process, they met those agreements on the contract and everything. That's why I'm saying that the contract was pretty good, but only the payment side of things, it just went really bad.
And how much were they promising you on the payment? Like, what was the rate they were promising you?
The rate they promised us, it was 5,000 something, if not mistaken. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and what advice would you give to upcoming musicians and aspiring? There's young people out there who are talented and would love to be artists, and they see you on TV, seeing on your reaching your last key there, and they wish to be on TV and be like you guys, but they do not know what happens on the ground. What advice would you like to give them?
What I can say to the upcoming artist, I think as like now, they are role models. Some of them, they watch us on TV thinking, oh my God, these guys have money, first of all. So I just want to tell them that, when you get into the industry, you must have a thick skin. You must grow your thick skin, because this industry is not for the fainted. And learn to speak out. Don't die inside, because we've seen many artists dying from depression and anxiety. They've died, we've watched them. So I would advise them to stand firm. Stand for what you believe in the industry. Stand for what you believe as an individual. So don't be afraid to face whatever that you face along the way. Yeah.
When it comes to music business, because now you understand that it's very imperative. We want to understand the ground, the administration part, because without the administration, there is no business, basically. And I believe that it's the reason why a lot of musicians are being exploited, because the groundwork is not done. So basically, they're just putting on the roof and the windows and whatever, but the foundation is not there. So obviously, when it rains, the house is going to fall apart, right? So when it comes to music business, more particularly with contracts, what would you say you have gone wrong? Like, hence I asked you if you understood the contracts, because there's a lot of points that signing a contract protects you from a lot of things. Like if you go to a gig and something happens to you, you need to be protected. And that client the municipality has to approve for that gig to happen in that venue. Should anything happen to you, then the client knows that they are accountable for your life. But if there's nothing that has been signed, you are on your own. You know what I mean? So if there's anything that you have learned about having a contract, I just need to understand your knowledge about what's in the contract. Besides the rate they are paying you. Yes, it's a way of saying that we have signed this contract, both of us, and that's why you have to pay me. But there's a lot of things that should be covered, besides the technical rider, besides the this is what we're gonna I don't know, the costume, the times, that this is where you have to, the call times, the rehearsals and whatsoever. Is there any other thing that you are knowledgeable of besides the basics?
What I can say is, Gaddafi, we need to read through the contract. So the upcoming artists should learn to get in the industry with so much open mind and wisdom as well, because if you get the contract, you must read through and also have a legal protection as well, or maybe get somebody who's knowledgeable, or maybe a lawyer to read through the contract before you can have the agreement. Because we get so excited, as I was saying, we get excited because of the rates that we have, the promises that we get, but we don't really check those small highlights in the contracts that can bind us at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, and what role do you think the Department of Arts and Culture, that is representing all the artists in the country, what role do you think they should play to avoid what has happened to you and more other, because you are representing more other artists who have gone through the same thing?
I think they must maybe open an organization that can help us as musicians, where we can be able to be registered and or maybe perhaps have a basic salary like any other normal people that go to work each and every day. Because here we are now in COVID-19, we've been not working. There's a lockdown, there are no gigs. We are waiting for the Artist Relief Fund. So it goes to a certain percentage of people. They will tell you that you don't qualify while you have a cancellation letter from the production just before the lockdown. Because I was supposed to do Rebecca Manopi's production in March on the 27th, not mistaken. Lockdown happened on the 22nd. Yeah. Then, boom, I didn't have that payments because we were going to be paid after the production.
Of course.
So I believe that if they can create that agreement and also to have some workshops, where they can be able to teach us, take us through as an artist, what are the things that we need to do before you enter into the industry. Because we get there with such excitement thinking that, okay, I just have the voice, I can act, I can do whatever.
Yeah.
We don't know the legal part of things in the music industry. That is why we fail along the way and we get crushed. And we feel like, you know what, music is just not for me. But while you know that you're gifted and you feel like, okay, let me just go back to corporate. Yeah.
And if you were the Minister of Arts and Culture, what is it that you would change, or what is it that you would fix about the industry? And speak it from a point of where you are right now, that things that you wish could be implemented to make your life easier.
I believe that if I was the Minister of Arts and Culture, I would advise that we have, like whoever that will be hosting any events, those big bosses out there, we have an agreement with them so that we protect our artists. Because now the artists are not protected, but other people, they benefit. They benefit from the artists. Those big bosses, producers and everything, they benefit in the industry more than the artists. So I would definitely fix that area where we have an agreement with the department and also the production, those people that are hosting big events. So I would implement that.
And as we are now wrapping up, I want you to, tell us how you feel about what has happened to you. How do you feel about this whole thing? And I mean, you feel that I obviously it's not a fair situation, and but I need to know how you feel. I need to connect with her. For me to be able to help you, it should be based on, like, I need to understand where you're coming from. If I should put it that way.
Kind of what I can say is how I feel right now. There's so much pain. First of all, I was in a state, as I was saying that, I felt like, let me just send out CVs because I have work experience. Because I decided to go in the industry as like a full-time musician. Now when you don't get payments, you don't get the treatment that you deserve, it really frustrates you. It really frustrates you. You hate your industry. You feel like if somebody's telling you about music, my younger brother also wants to do music, but he doesn't do the gospel. I'm in the gospel industry. He's doing the R&B pop kind of music. So every time he'll be presenting his songs to me, I would like, I'm not interested because of what happened, because of my past. You see, so what I can say is, hey, I'm so angry with the industry. I'm so angry with people that does not respect other artists, does not respect us in the industry. They think that it is well, as long as they have their big houses, their children are going to the best schools, they don't care about us, that they use in their production to make sure that the production go well. Because without us, there's no production, there's no show. That is why they have us. So I think that they should treat us in a manner that they treat their children. Do you get my point? Because we look up to those people, but they treat us like trash. So if they can have that heart to treat us as human beings, would be cool. But I'm angry. But I'm really angry.
Yeah.
I'm really angry, and I wish that whoever that would be watching this, if maybe they will still want to rip people off, they must just change their mindset. Because as musicians, we have to stick together, we have to protect each other, and to also be a role model to the new generation.
Yeah. If if the perpetrators, which is the exploiters, if they were sitting across you right now, here's Lindelani Mkhize, here's Thabang Mnisi, here's Dan, I think it's Maswanganye. If they were sitting across the table right now, what would you say to them?
One wait for them. I'm not going to say much. You are hypocrites.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming through. And I think one last thing I would like to know, and I'm sure the viewers would like to know, is what are you working on? What are you planning to work on after? Is it after COVID-19? Is it right now? What are your plans?
Basically, before the lockdown, I was planning a show, and my show was basically going to be recorded because I wanted to call the sound guys with cameras. It was like going to be a mini recording, but it was a concert, but we're going to record everything that was done and do the production. So now I'm going to be, I'll be busy with my new single because I want to release a new single.
Is it a new gospel?
Single. Yeah, it's a gospel single. But people have been asking why I don't do a house track, but I will still look to it. I'll do a house track, but it can be gospel kind of house. Yeah. So I'm gonna work on that project. Yeah. So that's what I'm busy with right now.
And where can people reach you? Or are you on social media? Are you on on the social media platform?
Yeah, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook as Andries Mola, Instagram at Andries Mola, and also Twitter at Andries Mola, and TikTok, that's where I have more views. Yeah, so TikTok, Andries Mola, so you can check me out there, and also check my songs on YouTube as Andries Mola. That's where I play my music, and whatever that I do in my spare time, I just post on my Facebook page or on my YouTube channel. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm sure the viewers will check you out, and thank you for coming through. Thank you for your bravery, and we hope that even the upcoming ones and the aspiring ones, they are looking up to you, and they have heard you, and they listened, and taking your advice as well. So I'm glad that you came forward and speak out, because you're not only helping yourself, but you're helping even those that haven't walked your journey yet. And for them to not repeat your mistakes, it is important that they learn from yours. So thank you very much for coming through, and we'll see how we will help you.
Thank you very much for having me, Kada. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to meet one of the exploitation survivors, NoNo Matuwane. She's my second guest. So let's hear what she has to say. Hi, Nuno.
Hey, Gaddafi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, please come through.
Thank you.
Hi, Nuno.
Hey, Gaddafi.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Have you?
Thanks for coming to see me. We received your letter, your complaint about this issue at hand, and I would like to know, to ask a few questions. I've gone through your letter, but I would like to, just get a clarity on who NoNo is. Who are you in the entertainment industry? And if you can tell us a bit of your background within the entertainment industry, who you've worked with, and etc.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to come talk about this issue that
You're welcome.
we've been trying to tackle from 2019.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
It's been a while.
It has been. My name is NoNo, surname Matuwane. Okay, I've been in the PR industry since 2002. So my background is literally that, public relations. In 2017, I was introduced to the lifestyle and entertainment industry, where I worked with a lot of artists, in a way that I was working with a company that looked after the Standard Bank Joy Jazz and MTN Joy Celebration. So that's how I got to talk with a lot of artists and understand that industry. So I've also worked with the likes of Mbuso Koza. He was part of the lineup in 2018, and then after the Joy of Jazz, I just continued working with him because I love what he does. Yeah, and that the heritage thing that he takes so seriously just drew me closer to him, and I became his publicist. So yeah, that's who NoNo is.
Okay. Mbuso is doing a great job. I do agree, and he's a role model to me. So tell us more about why you're here. I mean, the story that you shared with me. I know what the story is, but I'm sure the viewers will be more interested in knowing what your story is.
I smiled today, but I wasn't smiling when I came to you because I was really upset. I was sad. I decided to quit my 9 to 5 in May 2019. That was immediately after we launched the lineup of the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz for 2019. Prior to that, we had launched Judith Sipuma's album called Dreams, I think, A Power of Dreams. That's where I met this man by the name of China Mbololo. I had never heard of him before, so I met him at that event literally, and he asked for my number. I gave him my number. He asked me what my role was with the business that I was working for, and I told him this is what I do. Went on to ask me what my salary was, and he said to me, do you know that you can actually make double what you're making or more money for yourself instead of working for someone else? And I just laughed at it, and I was like, I don't even know this man from a bar of soap. So he started calling me, and then I got used to him calling, and then he'd be talking about, I've got an event happening here, I've got an event happening there. The first invitation that he sent me was the launch of the SAFMA Awards for 2019, which hadn't taken place in 2018. So the invitation was that it's happening at Freedom Park, and then it didn't happen. So after I had quit my job, he called me on a Saturday morning asking me what were you up to, what are you doing? And I told him, no, I'm not employed. So right now I'm just thinking about other avenues of making some income. It's like good timing because I am meeting with my team in Bravo team. If you'd like to join us, come through. So I just thought, you know what, maybe this is a break. I had done a bit of background search.
Yeah.
And
what did you find?
Okay, first of all, I found that the company that he spoke to me about actually existed, which was CSUN's Holdings. And the SAFMAs actually did exist. And I was drawn by the concept because I'm all for people who are honest and they want fellow people like to actually get that break where you're not being recognized. So I thought it was a nice story, and I could associate brand NoNo with that kind of story to say, okay, he is actually empowering people. He is making sure that people get recognized. Little did I know. Fast forward to him asking me to, well, we went to that meeting, he's meeting with his people. I wait outside, I have my cigarette there, and he sends one of the ladies to come call me, and they like, he's asked that you join. I'm like, what am I joining? I am not part of the team yet. This man called me this morning, told me he has a meeting. So I came here under the impression that we're going to talk about whether NoNo is going to onboard or not, whether you are comfortable with NoNo's skill set, because you don't even know me. He had asked me for my CV, he had my CV, but he did not know the level of work that I do and whether it was aligned with what he was looking for. So the idea was that we're going to suss that out and see if we can work together. But now suddenly I'm drawn into a brainstorm. So when I sat there, I was like, okay, am I part of the team already? That's the question that I asked.
So for you to be surprised that you're already brought on board, what steps do you believe should have been taken before you sat on that table?
For me, in an ideal world, people people talk about, okay, NoNo, I am employing you based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the expected deliverables from your end, and then NoNo will say, okay, this is my expectation of you as well. So we speak remuneration as well. So what are the terms? How are you gonna pay me? Where are we signing? When are we signing? That did not happen. But here I am already brainstorming, and I'm like, okay, good faith, trust the guy. You know, yes, you've read. You were actually asking what I found when I did my background search.
Yes.
So there were a lot of bad publicity, but I just considered, I'm a publicist, I'm in PR, and I know news is not news when it's not balanced. So there'll always be negative, there'll be neutral, and there'll be positive. It can't always be positive. But what I neglected to take into consideration is that all this negative publicity is about him not paying people. So NoNo, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, he's been so charismatic. You know, he's been sounded like a loyal person, and maybe I can trust him. So the gut is saying something, but the heart is saying, give it a chance. You know, he can't be all that bad. Yeah, so that's what I found, and the fact that there were some beautiful things that he was doing, even though he was exploiting the people that were involved in them. I mean, you get funding, you get people to help you implement something, and then you don't pay them. That is not good. But that is not something that I knew then. All I saw was the positive, that there is softness and it's recognizing these Afro music artists.
But you said you researched and you found the dirt that he does not pay people.
That was when he was a promoter. So the likes of Abo Baba Huma Sekela never got paid, you know. And it was validated by his daughter. He was like, yo, NoNo, are you dealing with this guy? It was like we even forgot about him. And then artists came through after I did my little expose before I approached you, because I approached the media.
Yeah.
I think we're jumping around because unless it's okay not to do the chronological order of events. But yeah, some things drew me, but I still had that thing, pinch of salt. And I was like, okay, just keep at it. Maybe you'll be the lucky one that you'll get paid.
Yeah.
And eventually you will sign a contract.
So finally, you became part of the project. What was your role?
I acted as a publicist. That's how he introduced me to people. I wasn't even sure that was my title. I didn't know what I was coming in as, but he introduced me as a publicist, and we hadn't agreed that NoNo would be a publicist. Next thing, I'm also a judge at auditions. I'm not a musician. I'm a glorified PR person. But here I am, I'm looking at a person playing keys, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I ended up being an almost jack of all trades, because if I'm not a judge at auditions, I am running around looking at offices, because he wants to move his office to Randburg or to wherever, offices that he had said he had in Sandton and Bramley. But now here I am, I'm driving, I'm calling, trying to find out, is this office still available?
So at this rate, the remuneration hasn't been discussed yet.
All he asked for was a plan and my proposed costs.
Yeah.
Which I sent on email after I sent him a plan. And I said, okay, for this amount of work, I will bill you 15K. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the first month. And then as we move along, this is how much it's going to be.
Yeah.
He did not say yes or no or acknowledge my email. He starts talking on WhatsApp. So I go back to the same email, resend it to say, have you looked at the plan? Have you looked at my proposed costs? Is it within your budget? Because I think at some point I realized that he's actually broke. So it was him trying to make money using people who've got skills.
Yeah.
Because the people that were working for him actually knew what they were doing.
And who were the sponsors for the project?
he would approach different government departments, from the Department of Arts and Culture, even social services. So he also mentioned PRASA. I don't know how PRASA fit in at that time. I don't know, because when I asked him for the money, which he made sound like it was a loan. Like, how do I ask for a loan when I have been working? It's month end. I don't need a loan from you as my employer or as a person who's contracted me to do stuff. I'm expecting you to pay me. And that was before I said to him, let's sign. Because we had 2 meetings prior to the third one that we had, where he mentioned PRASA, to say, I'm waiting for PRASA to pay me. I don't know where PRASA fitted in. I don't know why they owed him. I have no idea.
You mentioned that he requested you, he told you to get a loan when you are expecting him to pay you because you're contracted to him, but there was no contract.
But verbally, like I mentioned, good faith.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mistake that we make as people. Because this man has now brought you closer to him. He calls you, he texts you. You're talking, now you're thinking you're at a level of friendship. But it's not really friendship, because now I'm here to work, I'm a professional. But I will entertain you, I will engage you, because I'm not a rude person. So when he's telling me about these partnerships that he has with the people that he works with, and they don't even talk to him about contracts, they don't even question him about payments.
Yeah.
I think he wants me to get to that level, but I'm not.
What you know, it's interesting, because what I fail to understand is that you are from the corporate world, right? And you know how business works. And before you started working with him, you researched him, but still repeated the mistakes that others probably did as well. And you already knew that he has he might not pay you because of what he did. He did this to big shots, celebrities, people that could be his fathers. He did the same thing to them. And you still work with him without a contract. And now, for him to use you everywhere, he already sees that you are.
I'm with you, and it's a very fair question, because I also asked myself the same thing, that no, you're not stupid, but maybe you're crazy.
Does he have like some sort of a black magic on some, before you know it, you're too relaxed around him? Because
I came to learn that, and I'll stand by it, because I was told that, no, when you delivered your letters, this man was chewing on some stuff. So maybe that's what happens, some voodoo. But on a serious note now, I think you get to that point where, when you are a human being and you're thinking people actually do change, I'm gonna give them a chance. Maybe it's not gonna happen to me, but it happens. We're laughing, and it's really not funny, because I know a lot of people out there are probably meeting China or people like China.
But probably they are meeting him and they don't know that he approaches them in a flattery manner so that he can exploit them. Look, you knew what he's capable of, and you still fell for it because he was flattery. So that is the part they need to understand. That even I don't know what his role was here, but if he was what was he doing? Was he the one who produces these shows?
Yeah. So with the SAFMA specifically,
yes.
He owns it. He started it. He established it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful concept, I must say. So he would get these people. I don't know how the nomination process works. I asked him when I was doing a press release, so I could understand how it works. And he was like, make it up. Yeah, so I made it up. Sorry. So I sent back the release to him to say, please approve. obviously I needed to be factually correct because I've said things that I don't even know to say, okay, this is how the people were nominated, and I don't even know if it makes sense because I'm just a PR professional, but it happened. The release went to him and he approved it. And to this day, I'm still asking myself why the media didn't ask me about that part, because to me it did not make sense.
Now I'm wondering, as you say this, I'm wondering if all the South African awards, if this is how they operate. You know, there's someone in the office who doesn't know a shit about how awards are run, and all they have to do is just to create, like,
Just
who do I like? Let me see this category, this is what I'm going to create, and this is what I'm going to place.
Look, I don't know, because I was given the names and I was like, okay, did people have to send you SMSs to nominate? Did people have to call in?
So you were not briefed at all?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's an email that you forwarded, the one that you sent to Zimasa
Yes.
at Department of Arts and Culture. It had nothing to do with this event. Why did you send the email to her?
So the event was literally to say that, look, we are being exploited. I know that you have funded this guy historically, he's always knocking on your door. I need your intervention because I don't know where to go. I've been to the media, I have been where I can be, I have even approached for Gaddafi. So you as the department and as a potential funder for upcoming projects, because he's gonna close this one. I mean, this is a man who's got 14 businesses registered under his name with the CIPC. So for him, it's okay to just close CSANS down and then continue as NMB Group.
Yeah.
Because now he thinks that history dies with CSANS. So with NMB Group, I'm new.
Of course.
When I go there, I can hide behind NoNo and say NoNo owns the business. So I'm gonna go and ask for funding. So no, it's just hypothetical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was to say, if this man comes knocking, just know that you will fund because the project is good. And you believe that it's going to actually contribute towards the upliftment of the youth, to creating jobs, to empowering artists and people like that. And you're gonna fund him. What you do not know is that artists will come there. They will not get paid. They will perform for free because they told there is exposure.
Yeah.
People in the background like myself, publicists, project managers, all those people that are never seen will also not get paid because they will be told, no, Department of Arts and Culture hasn't paid me yet. I understand. So that's why I went to Zimasa to say we need intervention.
Which is, by the way, a popular line of all these perpetrators. That's what they say, that a sponsor hasn't paid. So with what I needed to could it be the reason why he doesn't want to be in the front line? Like when media does interviews, you said that he put you in the front line to be, you know, the spokesperson. At
first I wondered, and I was like, you do find founders or CEOs who don't like the media. So they are media shy and there's nothing you can do about it. But as I dug deeper, I was like, no, there is definitely something behind this man. This man is just shady. And he knows that the media will dig even deeper than NoNo would. So they will know, okay, now you are saying these Safmas. They were going to pose that question to say, how were they nominated? And he can't exactly say, go speak NoNo. Because NoNo is the one who wrote the release. He would have to respond.
Of course.
And so I think that's why he was shying away from the media, because he knows they would see through his lies. And even when I took him to the media to say this is what he's done, his responses were very callous, you know, like, I don't care. How can I not pay her when I've been paying my staff, yet he doesn't have staff? The staff that he has are the people that I'm chatting with on a WhatsApp group who are saying you haven't been paid. Some are people who worked with him back in the day who still hadn't been paid in 2019. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, hogwash, but it's fine. And then for him to try and get another journalist to contact my former boss to do a background search because he's trying to find dirt on NoNo so they can say she is bitching because she's actually not so good.
Yeah. Or
And
she's used to bitching.
she's used to bitching.
Yeah.
And for him to get that thing to say, you know what, NoNo is an honest person and she's a hard worker, it threw him off. And then now suddenly he wants to negotiate. I'm like, I'm not on the negotiation table. I want my money.
Mm.
That's all I want. Like right now I'm speaking up, not because I expect it to come from him.
Yeah.
Especially with COVID, I know he's flat broke right now.
Mm.
And he's probably, I don't know how many poor kids are being exploited right now.
And how does, with everything that has happened, how did it affect you? I mean, at that time you were expecting to be paid by him or by the project, and nothing happened. How did it affect you, your livelihood?
At that time, it was tough. I had just quit my job.
Yeah.
I worked for an agency. Now I'm a freelancer without a pension fund. So I've got nothing to fall back on, and I can't be surrendering my policies right now. I've got a kid who's in matric. He needs his matric farewell clothes, he needs a car, he needs this, he needs that. And here's this man sitting with my 15K. It's not a shitload of money, but it's gonna do something, you know. It's not there. My son is going back to school. He's in a boarding school. I'm like, dude, at least if I give me 10K so I can pay for him to go in, because boarding schools will not allow him to go into the hostel without paying.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So what do I do then? Beg, steal or borrow? When a person is holding my money, because the money that I had spent going up and down doing these things of his was the money that could have paid for the hostel fees. Now I must go and say to mommy, please help me out. So we were affected, and my eldest son was here. It was like when everything was happening and he could see that, okay, she's moving, she's going up and down. She says she's working with this guy, China, and he was there the day China wanted to come to my house when I said, no, let's sign, because we met on Wednesday. Now it's Friday. We spoke about this and you've been saying, oh, I'm busy, I'm going to a meeting. I've got a meeting until midnight, but I can come pass by your house at 8 p.m. And I'm like, who does that?
Yeah.
All I want is for you either email it, I'll sign, scan, and send it back, or when we meet again, I give you the signed contract. And then when you pay, but it never happened. So I was badly affected. And I that's why I went to the small claims court as well. And it wasn't just me, I went with Ugugu and Michelle.
Were you working in the same project
Working
together?
on the same project. And going back to why I still continued. Because Gugu and Michelle told me that when, after we did the launch, okay, I've got my own car, they use taxis. After the launch in Germiston, he actually gave them $50 to share for a taxi. And I was like, okay, what happened to payment? No, that was the payment. But that's not what we agreed on. I understand. And then I'm like, okay, so where are you guys? Because I find myself here alone with Uluyanda, and you guys are not working here anymore. And they were like, no, he refuses to pay, so we quit. And then he comes with a story, I had to fire them. I'm like, why do you keep on firing? Don't people just go? And why did you fire these two? Because they were competent enough. And he says, no, they lied. They lied about their CVs. I'm like, you're lying. But I still stayed. I continued another month. And then I asked Rihanna, when does this man pay? And Rihanna is like, now he gave me 2,000 rand that day, 2,000 today. And I was like, okay, fine. So, yeah.
And how, with the whole drama when it happened, how did it make you feel? Did you feel used? Did you feel taken advantage of? Or was it like, for you, it was just a learning curve?
It was all of the above. I don't think when you have expertise in something and you're a professional, you will take kindly to being used. Especially when you know. Because to a certain degree, I could sense that I was being used. But I was like, no, it's not gonna happen to me because we speak. You know, so that charisma, that charm inside of him makes you fall for his tricks. So, but I also learned that it doesn't matter how much you trust a person. Just know that if they are used to not paying people, you're not an exception.
Yeah.
You also probably won't get paid, and you'll probably be the most screwed over person above everyone else. Because for me, it was that thing that I trusted him, and for me, it's more that trust element that was destroyed by this man. You know, not even about the money. Like, how do you even go to the courts and lie and say that you told me you're not an FNB to loan me money, yet there is evidence that I actually did the work, and how it gets turned around by the same commissioner who was asking you that, did she do the work or not, and you said she did. The same commissioner comes back and says, you sued the wrong person. How? How? So the insiders told me, well, after they were also ripped off, to say that no, when he came back, he was like, before even he went to court, he was like, there is no case, I'm not even going to court.
Wow.
So clearly he bought somebody. Yeah.
That's sad.
Absolutely.
What do you want to say to China and people like him? If China was sitting here right now, what is it that you would like to say to him, or if he was watching you right now?
I would say to China, look, if you come with bad intentions, don't approach people. If you want to do something good, but you can't afford to do it, tell people, I don't have the money to pay you now. Let them be the people to decide that I actually want to do this pro bono until he's found his feet. And then we'll see how we work around this whole thing. But still, don't play hide and seek when it comes to, okay, let's sign something. Because even with that, we sign and then we agree that for the next 3 months, no, I'm just gonna thank you with money for data and airtime because I can't afford a salary now. Just be honest, just be open about that thing. But there are some people that you shouldn't even begin to exploit. You know, like, how do you sleep at night? Do China, please, you know? So it's that, and or rather just quit the business if you're failing. Don't go knocking on doors asking for money when you know it's just to line your pockets, but not for what you're saying it's going to be for.
Yeah.
So,
You mentioned that he's a big shot in managing to get funds for his projects. What would you like to say to funders and sponsors and your DAC? Because these are the people who are giving him power to obviously to do the projects, but not knowing that this is what he does.
I think that the most important thing right now, for us as the people and for us as South Africans, and what we have been seeing, and it's not something that is recent, let's just be not corrupt, because you'll find that the people that are actually funding him actually know his shenanigans, but they will release the funding because they're also going to get something out of it. I'm not afraid to say it because that's the reality of South Africa right now. And the honest ones, if you come across a person like China, when you read and you see a story that was by NoNo said something about China, it doesn't only end in the media. There is also social media platforms. Search what is being said about China. And this is not just to the sponsors or government or funding agencies. This is to the people as well. And if NoNo comes to you and say, China is a charlatan, don't think NoNo is being jealous. Take it from a person who's been through it, and don't be like NoNo who said, you know what, maybe I won't be that person that gets exploited and becomes a doormat.
Yeah. And from what you have learned, what is it that you have learned from this experience?
A lot. That we can be sheep, but no, we can be wolves, but in sheep's skin. And that is China for me, because he really appears like a person who knows what he's talking about. He named drugs, and he sounds like I'll actually open these avenues. Just don't be that desperate. Don't be that hungry. You know, life is not about making the big bucks, because that's what he'll say to you, yet he doesn't even have those big bucks. You're dealing with a China who comes to you as an employee or his publicist, but he asks you for petrol money. And because you are NoNo, you're like, okay, I'm gonna loan him 1,000 rand because he forgot his wallet at a friend's place. So those things, like every single nuance, like take every granule and dissect it and find out what type of individual am I dealing with here. And if it feels wrong, it probably is wrong.
Yeah.
So just don't. You know, I like to say I wish I hadn't gotten myself involved in that situation, but I'm glad that I did, because otherwise it would happen to me when I'm 50 and there's no turning back. There is no fighting spirit in me.
Or it could have happened to anyone, but no one is willing to speak. But you were one person who were, you know, vocally brave enough to come forward and talk about it.
Yeah.
To, you know, to educate others and to warn others, because you did get the red flags. It's not like you went there blindly.
Plenty.
But you still walked blindly.
Yeah, to see if there is that.
No, let Thomas Mahora go on.
Not even. It's believing in people. You know, saying, you know what, he might have been this person. You know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, just be careful with your empathy levels. With your, I can help him. He'll also help me. Just be careful who you associate yourself with, because it's draining. I was drained. Like I was on the verge of a depression, but I just refused to let a China depress me. I've been through enough for China with 15,000 rand to let me get into a depression. And I thought, you know what? Even if the courts are saying this and they're saying start from scratch, but be sure who you're suing. I'm suing China. Because he's the person that came to me. You don't come and tell me you're suing the wrong person.
Yeah.
He is the person that I have been emailing. It's there.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? So it's that thing that I'm delaying this whole thing and we're hoping that she'll run out of steam. But I'm not, because there are people like yourself. And I'm glad that you called me when you did. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for coming through, for telling your story. And I didn't know China at all until you mentioned China, because you were very radical about China must fall. And I was like, who the fuck is China? Like, are we talking about China more like a Chinaman?
Yeah, that's why he called himself Japan.
Yeah. But I'm glad that you came forward, because now when you approach sponsors, when you approach artists or any publicists like you, or any promoters, booking agents, yes, everybody will know what he's well capable of, because the danger in this is that he places people in compromising positions. Because artists would say that, you booked us, you know, but where's the money? And the person who is guilty is actually the one who is
picked up the phone and called.
Yes. But we thank you for coming forward, and I'm hoping that even the viewers are learning from your experience, and China will fall.
China must still fall. Thank you
He
so
must
much.
still fall.
Yeah, he must still fall. I know he's gonna, well, he threatened me with attorneys, and I am saying to you, China, bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, we got you. Okay, so, but thank you for coming again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gaddafi, Gaddafi. Gaddafi, Gaddafi, Manafi. Gaddafi, Gaddafi, Manafi. Gaddafi, Gaddafi, Gaddafi.
Right now, I'm sitting with Munya Chaneza, the man of the industry, MOTI, who has more than 10 years experience in the entertainment industry, has a passion in creatives and educating them, and is a music expert. Welcome, Munya.
Thank you for having me, Gaddafi. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yes, as we have heard our two guests who have pleaded their cases, and we have learned that they have one thing in common, and that is a lack of music business. And as an expert in the entertainment industry and with your more than 10 years experience, what advice would you give to both of our victims?
I think the key thing that was raised was that both of them didn't treat it like a business. And I think that's actually the common issue we have in our industry, is that we don't look at as the music industry. There's two sides of it. There's the industry side and there's also a business side. And the business side is the side that I think a lot of creators don't enjoy, because it involves a lot of paperwork and admin, so they overlook it. But at the end of the day, as they say, it ends in tears. So I think definitely the one thing that was common with both cases today was that contracts. There was nothing, there was no formal document. Which, an agreement is so important, because what an agreement or a contract does, it is a formal document which is it proves agreement between the two parties. Within that document, there are what we call the obligations of the two parties. There's deliverables and there's timelines, etc., etc. All these different elements need to be written down, and then when both parties put their name down as a signature, that's evidence to say that we both read this, we both agree, and we're moving forward.
And do you think most artists really understand what a contract is, like based on the jargon as well? So, because they may receive contracts, and I believe that in your years of experience, there's a lot of artists who have signed contracts, but at the end of the day, they really don't understand what they signed up for, and they get shocked when things are not delivered as they expected, not that they understood what they read in the contract.
It's true. I think there's a few, I feel that I even call them industry lies. And I think one of the biggest lies is that, and the creators have owned this lie, is that creators don't like to read. And for some, and because of that lie, there's almost like this veil on people's eyes when it comes to contracts, where it's just about the money, how much money is it, they see figures, they sign away, and yet they don't even know what they've signed away. Because, as I said, and the problem is that once you sign a document, in the eyes of the law, it's now it's permanent. You know what I mean? It means that you've agreed. It means that you're telling people that I've read this and I agree
and I understand.
So now, when you just sign blindly, you're only leading into, I think, a world of hurt, actually.
So let's go back to when an artist is being booked to come and perform on stage, or to come and do a recording, and what steps should an artist, what are the steps for an artist to get booked? Because we've noticed that with these cases, it's a verbal agreement, or it's a non-formal communication. And sometimes these, let's say with WhatsApp, these messages, they get deleted. You need to upgrade or you lose your phone. So now you lose everything. So you don't even have a backup to say that, but this is what we agreed on. It's just a word against his word against mine. So what are the processes when I'm an artist, I'm getting booked? What needs to happen?
So some of the key things, so when you're asking the process, are you saying within the contract or just the processes and what should happen?
The general process.
So I think, it starts verbal. I think first is the verbal agreement between the parties to understand when is the event, what type of event is it? When I say what type of event, is it going to be a sponsored event, or is it a private event? Because when you answer these questions, you'll be able to determine how much you should charge for this, because it affects different things. Are there going to be ticket sales, or is it for free? Also, there's certain things called, you need to also be to know your technical rider, and the definition of a technical rider is just what is your setup? When you're on stage, how many mics do you need? Do you have a guitarist? Where's your guitarist positioned when you like to perform? Where's your drummer? Where should he be positioned?
Yeah.
So the technical rider is just basically you breaking down just how do you perform? What is your performance setup?
Yeah.
So you need to understand that. There's also what we call a hospitality rider, which goes hand in hand, and that's now making sure that you have the refreshments that you like. So, I mean, some people have crazy ones. I know I've seen internationally, I think once I saw Justin Bieber's technical rider. I mean, when you get to that level, some of the things I was seeing on this thing where he wants to have a skate park, access to a skate park and all this thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, but at this point, hospitality is just basically just saying, just in terms of food, refreshments, drinks, what do you prefer? Do you want to have a Red Bull? So they make sure everything is ready for you. So these are the things that you need to discuss and agree. Once there's agreement, then we move it on to piece of paper now. So that everything is now documented, everything that's been discussed and agreed, the client who's booked you understand what you need, you now understand the obligations. Also, we're talking, as I said, your fee, within you also need to discuss if you're traveling, will there be accommodation set for you for the evening? Are you spending one night there? How are you getting there? Is there a bus? Do you use your own money to pay for fuel and then they reimburse you? All these things need to be just understood and clear before the event happens. Even within the contract, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, even to use your they call it your likeliness, using your face for the flyers and stuff. All those things, it should be discussed to understand that yes, your imagery will be used on all promotional material, but also for a period of time. Like these are the things that I guess we tend to overlook. Yeah.
Does outdoor and indoor performance determine how much you should charge?
I guess it just, for me, the thing with outdoor and indoor is just sound. Usually in outdoor, that's where you have bands and stuff, I find more. Indoor, you don't really see as many bands and the like. So when you have a band, usually, because you're responsible for paying the band, for example. So in outdoors, usually there's more sound, it's outdoors, so you can have a band on stage. You have to make sure that you have now, when you're telling the client to pay you need to cover the cost of all these members, your band, your drummer, the guitarist, whoever's come to you, if you've got a sound engineer yourself, you make sure that covers those costs. And if it's indoor, and well, if maybe it's now indoor, it's not as big, maybe you don't have a band, for example, maybe it's a backing track, but still, you just need to understand all the different components ultimately.
The reason why I'm asking that is because I've realized that when I booked artists, let's say with well-known artists, and it's big festivals, you know, and let's say it's during winter or windy season, it affects the voice for vocalists. So I realized that with their pricing, indoors versus outdoor is quite different.
It can go
but
up.
A lot of artists actually do not know that they can, you know, they have options or they have that leverage of charging different prices. But it's only well-known who know that.
Yeah, because they're in the industry now. So once you learn, that's the thing. I think that one of the challenges with our industry is that it's almost this baptism by fire, in the sense like no one is sharing the information. So you're literally having to go in blind. You keep burning yourself until you learn, and then you keep. Unfortunately, and it's an unfortunate thing, and that's why it's so important to have such platforms such as this, where people do understand what you can ask for, what the do's and don'ts. Because as we said earlier, the problem is that a lot of the time, people just get excited by the money and the figures. They see, gig 10,000, you just signed. But however, you have not read the contract. You have no idea what you've signed. Sometimes you sign a performance. Next thing, you don't even know if they're recording it. Has it been recorded? If it's been recorded, where is that going to be put? Is it going to be put on broadcast TV? Is it going to be just on YouTube? All these elements are things that will affect how much you need to charge.
Of course.
And you need to know these things.
Of course. And let's besides the basics, the technical rider, and with what you have mentioned as well, whether you should know where this will be publicized. For me, what I need to know most importantly is the assurance, I don't know if I should say the assurance or the insurance or the safety of musicians.
Sure.
So you go to a gig, let's say, for instance, a client paid upfront, full payment upfront. Does a musician still need to, the importance, for me is the significance, because I think once they get the money, they don't understand the significance of the danger they may be putting themselves in, because the venues mean the safety of the venues.
Yes.
Should anything happen to them at the venue?
Who's going to cover?
Yes.
Because ultimately, that's the responsibility of the client. As in, when you hire a venue, you do have to get insurance. There's certain things for crowd control, security, insurance, all those elements. So that's ultimately the client who's responsible for those things. But there's nothing that stops you if you're performing and you want to understand have those things been adhered to, are you safe and the like. You can bring these up in conversation.
Of course.
You know.
We spoke earlier on about the call time versus the time you go on stage. Should if the event gets delayed?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess there's different scenarios that can happen. I mean, and it also does depend on, how do I say, whose fault. So for example, if you arrive at an event, and I think the example we gave is, say the building collapses, that is, we said that's an act of God.
Yeah.
And in those instances, I guess the confusion is now, if I've been paid as an artist, do I need to pay back the money? How does it work? So I mean, and those are the things which we need to start thinking and knowing and asking the right questions. And ultimately, the answer I feel is that in those instances, where there's an act of God like that, you've been paid your percentage. Ultimately, there's different ways you can work it. It's like the client may say, maybe they paid you only 50%, let's just say. Maybe because the performance hasn't happened, they don't pay you remaining 50%, and the deal is saying that maybe we reschedule the event. So therefore, then you're still liable. You still need to adhere to the contract and say, okay, the event didn't happen now, this act of God happened, I don't have to give back my money, but when the client calls and they say it's time for me to finish and I'll get my remaining money, then that's how you move.
Yeah.
Kind of vibes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what happens when a client has, your face to be on the poster? So what is the process for your face to be on that poster? Does that need to be in a contract, an agreement?
I mean, I would advise that it should be in the agreement. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time you've got into that part where now you're facing the poster, by that time you should have been paid either your deposit. However, you see, the thing is that it's always a negotiation. But whatever you've negotiated, so maybe you've negotiated that I want 50%. By the time now where all those things are now happening, ideally you should have been paid your money by that time. If you have not been paid your money, then you have every right to tell these people that you cannot use my likeness.
Yeah.
Because we've written it down saying you can use my likeness, however, upon the base that I've received 50% of my upfront payment. So now if they haven't done that, then it's a breach.
Yeah.
And if there's a breach, you have every right to say, sorry, I can't do it, I can't take part of it. So yeah, those are the kind of things that need to happen.
Should a client still continues and put because you are now a crowd puller, and your face is still there on the poster, what legal actions can you take against the client?
Because as I said, that technically it's a breach. Ideally, in the way I work, I always say you should try and negotiate. However, at the end of the day, if we're just talking about what's written on paper, if it's written in the agreement that you should have been paid, then I think there should be grounds to take legal action against this person, whether it's to get some sort of because it's using your likeness without, it's a breach of copyright. It's using your likeness without your permission. So I'm sure there's damages and the like, because now you are selling the event and you're not even being paid.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's damages. I'm sure maybe you can even say I don't want to perform, and and maybe you can even still get a percentage of your performance fee. Yeah. Kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah.
So what happens to some of these upcoming artists, for instance, they get booked and they say it's exposure. So do they still need to get contracts?
That exposure thing for me is just I think we're in a day and age now that we should know better. And for me, I feel it's also something which I think the industry as a whole needs to address, where we need things to be regulated now.
Of course.
So that we have a minimum floor, so that if things are regulated, when it comes to performances, now we know that it doesn't matter. If you are to jump as a performer, if you are to jump on stage, the minimum amount you will get is 5,000.
Yeah.
And that's now regulatory, and people need to adhere to that.
Yes.
I think the problem with this right now is that because things aren't regulated, that's where things are, people are getting paid with alcohol, people are being paid with exposure, with food. And I mean, at the end of the day, those things don't put food on your table.
That's true.
So it's very important to, and so, yeah, those things need to be adhered to without a doubt.
So on the last point,
Yes.
can we address the termination of the contract?
It's very important. So there should always be either a termination clause or a cancellation clause.
Yes.
And this is just, it's important to have this in case any of the parties are not happy. You should be able to say, listen, I can step out, whether it's in the termination clause, whether it can state maybe if for whatever reason something happens a week before, maybe you haven't been paid, if there's a breach, you can now terminate and cancel. It's very important just so that you can have a clean exit and it's not messy, it's a clear breach, and then you can take things further from there. But it's very important to have either termination or cancellation clause in these agreements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I mean, at the end of the day, as I said, I think the clear case is that just not treating this music industry like it's a business. We really need to start having, and that's where, as you when you were introducing me, where you said I'm passionate about education. I am very passionate about education because I've seen the potential of our industry. However, because we're not treating it like a business, artists they're the ones at the end of the day who are losing out the most. Careers are ending because of these things. So my message would be people must stay tuned. They must follow you because on social medias and the like. Stay informed as much as you can. Ask as many questions as you can. A lot of creators sometimes feel like they're being a pain if they're asking, or they're asking about contracts, and there's that pressure. Never feel that way. You should never feel pressured in any way, shape or form. You have every right to do what you need to do. So yeah, power to the creators.
Thank you, Multi. So where can our viewers find you? On any social media platforms?
So you can find me, my handle on Facebook and Instagram is Munya Chanetsa. It's just my name. On Instagram it's Illuminati, because I wanted to illuminate, enlighten people. So it's ILL_Munya_TI, Illuminati. But yeah, and very soon I'm going to be looking at launching a educational platform as well, which is going to be multi.
What you wanna know, what you wanna hear, what you wanna voice, let her do it for you. It's attention.